Hey, John here. Here's Liquor Day number 121. This is an Eric Johnson inspired pentatonic run. As usual, I'm going to play it once slowly and then break it down. And after that, I'm going to give you some practice advice that you can apply to this one and also other things you're practicing. All right, we start here on the 15th fret of the D string. Right, this one is based on the G minor pentatonic with the added second note. And that second note gives you more of an Eric Johnson sound, in my opinion. And he tends to use some economy picking for some of these sequences that he does, but this one I asked alternate pick. And it's not really exactly what he would do, but like I said, that kind of thing brings Eric Johnson to mind into my ears. So I have notated everything, so you can find a link in the description if you want the tabs, and you will also see, you know, how everything relates to the key of G minor. But it's just a G minor pentatonic with one added note. So with that said, let's just start here, and it's in this very comfortable, what I call day one position as well. So we start here on the 15th fret of the D string, and we just ascend up the shape. And then from this note, we're gonna do this sequence. So we're basically gonna add this note here. So, and also this lick is notated in quintuplets, so 5 notes per beat. But I'm just gonna go through it in sections that I think make sense here. So from here, I'm gonna go, which is basically 18, 15 on the B string, 17 on the G string, and then you 18, 15 again on the B string. So then we just go down the scale that far to the starting note again, and then we start again on the G string on the 17th fret and go down 6 notes. So from this point, and then we end up here on an upstroke if you alternate picked everything. And then I have to do a slight bend here. So if we put it all together. Alright, so practice-wise here, as usual, you want to find the problem areas. But this one is so short, so you can basically just play the entire lick and just move it up and down the fretboard. So I will start at the lowest available position. And in this case, we're not going to be able to go this low because we need 2 frets below this note. So we should start here on the basically 1 octave lower. So we just played exactly the same thing. Maybe do that twice in each position and then just move up 1 fret. And so on, all the way up and then all the way back. And if you do that and you do it at a tempo where you don't make any mistakes, that's a really good start for you. And then I would try dividing this up into the separate beats, so using the beat to beat practice. Basically you go 1 beat to the next. So in this case we have 5 notes per beat, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we do the next note as well. And that's, so beat to beat means that you start on the first beat and then you play as many notes as the subdivision says that you should play, 5 in this case, and then you end on the next beat. So it's gonna be 5 plus 1 in this case. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1. So. And now you can start from that note and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. But just make sure that you start with an upstroke here. I didn't do that. So, and that's where the tab is helpful because you can just, it's very clear where the beats are. So, and then you'll feel quite quickly if any of these beat to beats feel worse than the others, and that's the one you want to practice then. So let's say that one feels crappy, which is the third beat. end up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. But then you can just repeat this one. And now you get a 6-note pattern that you repeat, but that doesn't really matter because you want an even number when you repeat, so you keep the picking motion intact. So, because if you just do an odd number here, we're gonna start on a downstroke and then on an upstroke, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but if you're working on a specific lick and want to get better at this particular part of it, you want to keep it as much as the same as you can. So in this case, we just go the complete third beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we just add this note again, and then you repeat. So and you can do that all over the place. So that's how I would approach this thing. And after that, you just simply go through the rest of it and see if you have any more issues. But I generally like to do this. I do the normal beat-to-beat thing, and that's actually going from the actual beats of the lick and then go through it like that. But if you find that that didn't quite cut it for you, then it's a good idea to start on each individual note, and then you go 5, in this case 5 notes plus 1 from there. So if we start on the second note with an upstroke, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, played the wrong thing first, but now you have a more detailed beat to beat, because then you're basically starting on each note of the lick. So the next one will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then next one. And when I do this, I actually start this on the beat then. So I go, so if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Right? So even though when you actually play it, this note, for example, will be the 4th quintuplet. So rhythmically, we're not really doing the correct thing when you work on it like this. But as far as working on that particular note grouping, it doesn't really matter, because technically it's gonna feel the same. Meaning for your, it's the same order of notes with the left hand, and it's gonna be the same picking in the right hand. So if you go through it like that, you're gonna find all kinds of tricky passages where it might seem like, wow, I'm actually playing this, but you are, because you basically have the whole lick and you just take a 5 or a 6 note chunk in this case, starting from each note. So even though some of these chunks will seem really weird, and you will know what I mean if you go through it like that, that's what you actually need to play. So usually if something feels strange to play, and it might be, not in this case, but in other licks, it might be that you start on like the last note before a position shift, which you wouldn't necessarily do when you play a complete lick, but it's still part of the overall phrase. So I hope this makes sense. If not, yeah, just let me know in the comments. But it's very easy. You basically use the regular beat to beat, where you just look at the notation or learn the lick, and then you go from the actual beats in the lick. And if that if that works, fine, just move on. But if you still have trouble, you can do the more detailed beat to beat, where you start on each individual note and go forward as many notes as the subdivision tells you to. So those two approaches can really work well when it comes to finding trouble areas. And once you find the trouble spot, if it doesn't solve itself just by you work on that beat, which it sometimes does, then you can take that thing that you sort of extracted and then make that into a repeating pattern. And to do that, I like to have an even number of notes, and then you just make sure that I start on the correct pick stroke if it's a picking thing. And then you can move it up and down the fretboard and get a lot of good reps in on something that you're not very good at. And that's really the fastest way to improve working on things that you're not good at.